this or you're not going to build anymore. And they started doing air with smoke or whatever they used, and they discovered the upswinging propellers with the air trapped between these two walls could not disperse, and you were stalling. And all that engineering, all those mathematics, all that experience, and they missed that. And so they said, let's just switch the two engines. And the plane was fantastic. And you'll notice that these, unlike the P-38, swing in. But back to why we think this was the first one that flew. The only one there are any pictures of flying with upswinging props is this airplane. If it didn't work on one, why are they going to try it on two? And you'll see a lot of pictures of this airplane with bombs, with rockets, and upswinging props. So those were for the airplanes. They never had flown. So once they switched it, then they had an airplane. Opposite direction. Only one flying. There's a later version with Allison's that Pat Harker is building in Minnesota. And he and Tom cooperated on a lot of it.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. These are Merlins. His will be Allison's. Pat Harker, one of the things he did for us, the inner part of that outer gear door, you'll notice it's very convoluted. It took some real alchemy to know how to press the flat aluminum and not have it rip or tear. And Mr. Harker put a great deal of effort and expense into figuring out a process. So he made doors for us and doors for him. Because for the final wall back, the later models with the Allisons and these are the same. From here forward, it's all different.
P-82 have any problem with torque, or did so it was like a P-38 when it came to
Yeah, I had a spin. Ray took me for a spin. He said, take it. And we knew the ailerons are heavy. See, after the prototypes, they put boost on. This is a prototype, no boost. And I'm not a pilot. I used to fly a lot with my dad. I've got a lot of touch and goes, and I fly once in a while. But he said, try it. And yes, I expected the heavy ailerons. The feathers are light on the back. She takes very little rudder, and she's a dream to fly. She has one rule, two rules. One rule, you land fast, you fly it on. See, that's what the one in Harlingen, they busted it because the guy wasn't used to it and it fell out from under him and they wrecked it. You fly it on, maybe touch down at 110, and when you're taxiing on the ramp, make sure you remember you're off-centered, because if you're centered, that wheel will go off in the grass. But otherwise, it's a very sweet, flying, gentle airplane.
really.
It's fantastic. And I said to Ray, what am I feeling different? He says, you don't have any torque at all, because they're like this. And he was right. Yeah, she flies like a dream.
I wonder how it would have fared if it had seen action.
Well, they shot down, the first 3 enemy aircraft shot down in Korea were shot down. And I just had a gentleman here that knew the man that flew the first one that shot the first one down.
So these were, in fact, used in combat then, huh?
In Korea.
I was not aware of that. Okay.
Allison's, yeah.
It did shoot down some...
I don't know what they shot down. I don't think they were MiGs. It could have maybe. Because they've hit like 486 miles an hour with this airplane.
That's pretty fast.
Not since we've had it, but it did.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, well they were a stopgap because we already had them. Total of 270, either 2 or 3. I don't remember which. Either 272 or 273 of all variants were built. Okay, and this was number 2 off the line, and we believe from the photographic evidence a number 1 to fly. The book says no, but there's no evidence that the other one flew first, because we have pictures of this with her tail numbers, with the upswinging props. You know.
One of those, like on one rudder, you have those little flat things, or is that...
That's an attitude. That's an attitude. That's modern. It's an attitude indicator. Yeah. The coolest thing on them are the brakes. They were hell till and the others figured out how they worked. Now they're not. Now they're simple. I know how they work, but they're different than any brake you'll see on the field.
Well, that's something I read. I've read about this plane too, but I've never talked to it.
Well, what is that? I've been told the reason they built them. It was by Goodyear. I'm told they built them this way. They were experimenting with anti-lock brakes, and there are very similar systems on cars from as early as the early 30s on cars. But the way it works, you step on the pedal, a little piston in here, ice closes this lower chamber off. It's a contained unit now. All the oil from your pedal goes to this one. What happens is you have to move for it to work. But if it moves, this one has a little puck. It grabs this. and forces it down like that, which is on a dovetail, which pushes a piston here that forces the oil into these. And then when you let off the pedal, this springs back, this opens, they're all interconnected again, so you maintain your fluid volume. But once we figured it out, we figured these brakes are never going to be any good. We figured they're always going to be junk. When we got done with them, they work great. But they're different than any brake. I even went to Goodyear to see if they had any blueprints. They didn't have any. Were you? That's a good fact. You were a welder for 26 years. I wish I knew what you know and had your hand.
Looking at all these welds on here, this is all aluminum, isn't it?
Probably. I have to ask Tom. Now these main gear are unique in one respect. If you mic them, they're not quite the same from one to the other because this was the prototype. It was not built on the assembly line. It was built in the model shop. So there's a little bit of difference.
Those welds are horrible.
These are supposed to be. Yeah.
They're kind of
They're deliberately that way because that's how it was. You see, if you look at
wartime production.
yeah, but if you look at the rivets on the sidewall, not to here, these rivets are nice and flush, as they were. But you'll notice those are all overshot. They're dimpled. He did it deliberately because that's the way this plane was. It's got its radios, direction finders, even the mechanisms to blow up your radios if you go down in enemy territory, original fire extinguisher and holder, ADF loop, it's a flying museum. And stuff was bought, people from everywhere donated. Larry Kelly, that has the B-25 Conchito, donated $100,000 worth of parts out of his piles of stuff, including that loop. They had a museum in England, had one of the radios. Tom calls him, listen, I want to buy your radio. Not going to sell it to you, but if you're going to put it in the P-82, it's in the mail. And we have had that kind of cooperation from around the world.
Well, you built one of the rare planes.
Pretty rare. Well, it was pretty neat. We were towing it the other day here. In the front of the line was the P-64. There's only one. I've been looking at it since I was in high school. Behind it was that Ferry Firefly, probably only one, and then the P-82. Three of us going along. I said, we're in the epicenter of aviation history just this 1 minute today.
If I had a magnet, I could tell you in a quick second what that aluminum was.
That's true. Now the wheels, if you look at them from the outside, they're gorgeous, and even the writing on them looks like it was forged. It's not. We had original wheels, magnesium, and they bead blasted them, and they had little divots in them, and they passed muster. But last year at this show, Connie Boland was in a Tiger Cat and had a magnesium wheel fail water on landing, and then shortly after that, a C-47 had the same problem, and Tom said, we cannot risk this. So, a company in California
Magnesium takes a special process as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just your wheels, but ours are aluminum. They're much heavier. They're a little different design. The original design was where the tube and the tire go on and the plate goes on in the big snap ring. Tom said, no, we are going to have the bolt togethers that look the same. And they're aluminum and they're new. And that pair of wheels cost us $36,000. But for what this plane's worth,
it will last forever.
And it will last forever. Yep. And if you go look at them and look at the writing, it looks like it was stamped, but it was all done with a CNC machine. And we got the boxes in with the pieces in it, and it was like opening Christmas presents. The guy called, Tom just picked up from California. They're beautiful, and they are.
Can I ask you a question about something?
I don't know all the answers, but I'll try.
I know it had, what is that, 650s right there in the middle of the wing.
Okay.
When they fired, how did they manage to not hit the propeller?
Well, take a look. Take a look and figure where the arc of the blade is versus where they come out. They miss.
Yeah, do they converge or are they all firing straight?
Straight.
Okay.
I mean, you could doctor them whatever you want.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, if you got that spread and you're on the receiving end, you're done. remember remember all the guns in the nose of a P-38?
Fix another car.
Well, they also made a big gun pod you could hang 8 or 10 more under it. And then you'll see pictures that are really weird with a radar pod because they have metal blades then. They had it has to be out in front of the prop so you don't get scattered. And you'll see this big, long, goofy-looking snoot that goes past the propeller.
I've seen pictures.
Yeah, there you go. What I want to do, I wish we had time and everybody do it. There's great pictures of this airplane when they set up different configures. They have ramjets hanging on the wings.
Really?
Yeah. I said, let's build replicas of those these big, long, nasty looking.
They're
They're
probably
probably in the
to get those
pictures.
ramjets going.
Man, we could make fakes and put them on there. It would look great, man.
I wonder how the plane handled, because when you get ramjets, they literally go.
You let them go, but I mean, just carry them. Now, if you want to talk to a pilot that has a good bit of time in this airplane, and he's a fantastic pilot, very good. Talk to Max Hodges. Max teaches me so much about airplanes. Well, he's not our designated pilot, but he flies the second seat, and he can fly this airplane in his sleep. Wow. He was with Delta 30 years. He flies that B-25. He flew it in. He flies Tom's B-25.
I wonder how
He's all over.
I wonder how this plane is aerobatically.
I wouldn't see how you would want it. You got an awful lot of mass. We have not rolled it over.
It's not like the Yak 110 that you see doing loops and stuff. You can't mimic him.
Well, he's got rockets. He's a much lighter airplane.
I know.
But you know, I'll tell you one problem we run into. You go to an air show, and they say, "Oh, Mustang, twin Mustang," and they'll designate a hole for you.
Yeah.
No, it won't fit. This thing, this plane is 5 feet longer, 52 or something feet wide, 15 feet high, and it's not going to fit in some slot they designate for a Mustang.
Right.
And there's only about 3 parts on this plane that are the same with a Mustang.
Does this have all the armament, the protection for a pilot? And
Oh yeah, well ours we don't use steel anymore. But yes, it was all armor plated.
But that's one of the reasons our plane, like the historian Kurt Chenault, when he got the P-40s and China.
Oh yeah, Chenault, yeah.
He told his pilots, do not try to turn with the Japanese
Yeah, because they're too light. Yep.
So he developed this, what they call zoom and dive
And
Boom,
leave.
zoom.
and lead.
I love a P-40.
Energy fighter.
What I like about a P-40 is like a B-17. They're Art Deco. Everything's rounded. No square, nothing. And of course, to me, the ultimate.
You wonder why it wasn't one of the faster planes of the war.
Well, it had an Allison in it, but
they put Merlins in it later.
Some, yeah. But I'll tell you, the most to me, everybody has their preference, but most probably would agree. The most beautiful airplane ever to take to the skies is sitting right over there.
What is it?
Spitfire with the original pointed wings and a little tail.
It's called. It was called the. I heard one guy call it the most beautiful fighter ever designed.
To me, it's the most beautiful airplane.
Probably.
I mean, like I saw some of the old boys they interviewed before they all passed, and like one said with his thick accent, well, it looks like it should be going 400 miles an hour just sitting there.
Yeah.
They really are. The Mustang's got more range.
Its only shortcoming was its range. It wasn't long range.
But you have to
when you consider that the British didn't develop it to go long range, they developed it to defend England against the Germans coming over there against.
Which were the Hurricanes and the Spitfires. They did. I have young friends that were graduate students in shark research. I work with, and they're PhDs now. And when we get to England, they're talking about it. I say, don't forget, and they never do. You guys saved the world, and they are very proud. We had a bunch of cadets. Oh, you need the key? Where'd you put it? Over here?
I heard a German Luftwaffe pilot talking about when he was in the Battle of England.
Battle of Britain, yeah.
Battle of Britain, I mean. He
Gallon.
said even though the Spitfire only had 30 calibers, they had like 8 of them. 30 calibers. And the German Messerschmitt pilot said, there's nothing that will give you great concern when you have all that lead flying into your plane.
Yeah. Well, I've had Messerschmitt and top pilots tell me, he says, we shot down a lot of B-17s, but nobody liked to fly up against them with all those 50s shooting back. It was tough.
Well, I've heard that, it depends on who you talk to, but I've heard some historians say that B-17 and B-24 gunners actually shot down more German planes.
I'd love to know that. I'd love to know that. Well, they had to in the early part of the war if they were shooting anything.
They were the only ones out there.
I'll tell you, that's the one thing. I was a groupie for years, and I still am. But I could never go to, except for Duxford, I will never go to a show again that I'm not part of an airplane. I can't just be a spectator anymore. But all those years that I was, like Bob Collins bomb, and by the way, you know Bob Collins two bomb, the P-17, the B-24 that go around. Tom built both of those.
Wow.
He built this. He built 35 airplanes.
Wow.
But all those years, the veterans would come, and I tried to learn everything they could teach me. So now, when the planes come into Boca Raton, because I live down that way, I can answer and tell stories. You know, but I miss all those guys. You know,
I'll tell you one of the greatest things that the EAA does is getting those guys' stories down on film before they pass away.
Yeah.
Thank God.
There's nothing like when you actually hear them talk about their experiences and what they liked about the planes and what they didn't like. That really, for me, it's like living history.
It is. But to see them all go, I mean, I had friends.
I got to meet Dick Cole last year, 2 years ago, you know, 103 years old.
And wasn't he
Shook his
sharp
hand.
as a tack?
He was. I told him, hey, thanks for protecting the world for a few generations like myself.
And we probably, you know what he said to me? We were standing. Now he's flown a lot with Tom with his B-25, and a lot with Larry, even more with Larry and Ponchino.
Yeah.
But I was standing in front of the B-25 down in Titusville, Florida, and Dick came. I said, Mr. Cole, and I don't just say thank you for your service. Everybody says that. I said, Mr. Cole, I want to thank you for my wonderful American life. And he's very humble, and he said, thank Jimmy.
Thank Jimmy,
He said, thank Jimmy. And of course, Jimmy Doolittle's one of my heroes. I have very few. Shackleton.
From what I heard, he was a straight badass. He was the commander in charge, and he was in the lead plane right into that.
He wasn't a badass.
Yeah, was it, you talking about Dick Cole?
All of them, but
Dick
especially Doolittle.
It was very strange to me because when he died this year, he died on my birthday.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah.
April 9th.
Well, he was a wonderful man, and
What those guys did was self-sacrificing.
Yeah.
But you know, I read
One-way
his
flight.
book. They were going to write. They wrote a book about him. He didn't want it because he's not a braggart. And they said, look, Dick, if you don't let us write it, who's going to tell the story?
Yeah.
And I read his book. It's called Dick Cole's War. You'll find it here. Read it, because I never got to get back with him after that day, but I wanted to talk to him about the China-Burma India Theater. The raid was nothing compared to what he had to do in the transports landing at night, where they pushed the CBs and pushed out a runway in the damn jungle. You come in at night. I wanted to ask him how the hell they could. People were getting killed everywhere, and he was part of that. And it was more than just the raid. I mean,
another veteran that died recently that I was sad to see here go was Bob Hoover.
Oh, everybody. I was reading his book the day he died. Yeah.
Really?
And he used to be here, and I met him up at I was at the gathering of Mustangs.
I saw him perform twice. Once in what they call Old Yeller.
Well, yeah, that was the Rockwell Mustang.
The Strike Command.
And I've seen him do both, and you can go online and watch it, you know. He was the real
There was an airport
dude.
called DeKalb Airport, I think it was.
Oh, when
I saw him do it, when I saw him do it at P-51, he got so low to the ground he actually kicked up dirt.
Oh yeah, but you never worried about it. You never worried about when Bob was flying, no matter how old he was. You never worried.
So change the subject here. Can you tell me a little bit about what was involved in the restoration to get this flying again?
I gotta go.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure, sir,
Oh, man,
and all of you.
You're very informative.
Man, I wish I knew more. I'm sorry for the things I didn't know. Anyway, thanks for
You
coming.
know far more than I do.
Well, I flew up in a C-47 from Florida, which was first class compared to today's airline. It was.
P-47?
C-47.
Oh, C-47.
Yeah, but I mean, think about this. I'm with friends. We get up, we take off in the heat. We get up at altitude. It's nice and cool. Got all our junk piled back here. Take my shoes off. Sitting around, no little kid kicking the back of my chair. No TSA. No parking lot where I got to pay to leave my car. None of that. And so I get here in the same amount of time if I flew commercial through Chicago or somewhere, and we're just friends. Go back to the cooler, say, hey, you want to fly a while? Yeah, okay. It was first class, and you want to take a nap? Those radials, you just lay back and it was smooth as glass. It was first to me, and all the leg room you want. First class.
I like all the World War II engines, but my favorite engine, and I don't mean to disparage the Mustang's Merlin, but my favorite engine is the old Pratt & Whitney R2800.
Yep. Well, we got R26s and the B25s. Tom has them, and he's developed.
I was surprised to learn that the B25s and The A20,
Just Mark, just
the A20 Havoc. They
Yeah.
had right radial engines.
Did they have right?
Yep, right. R20 2600 engine. Well, I gotta go.
Hey, it's been a pleasure. Take care.
You reach it, just take your hand in the oil.
Hey, if you see Jenny anywhere, she comes around, I want to get her up to look at the airplane.
When you step in, step right in
Now.
the seat. Yeah, it's easier.
So with the restoration then, where'd you start to get it to here?
That lady's been part of it from the beginning. Let her. You're up. I didn't come in at the beginning. You did. We're in Douglas, Georgia, but yeah. Well, she was part of it from the beginning. Not only keeping on getting all the blueprints together and keeping the files, but working on the airplane, drilling out rivets. She did it all.
Yeah.
And she can tell you more about it than I ever can.
No.
Okay.
You know, you think about it.
Her name's
I wish
Wheezy.
I had done
All right.
it. I didn't have a cell phone at the beginning. I didn't have video. You know, so I don't have video of any of that first stuff.
Hey, neither can I.
It has been. I thought about writing a book. It would be interesting.
Oh, sure. Whatever you need, man.
Would you like to tell me about some of the work that's been done to the airplanes to get it here?
What do you need to know?
Oh, I just wanted to know, you know, what the state you got it in, what were the major things that you had to do to it to get it flying again?
Oh, 11 years.
11 years? Significant portion of your life, huh?
Yeah.
A child. Huh?
Well, we got it. Walter supplied us home in Ohio.
Okay.
He was a collector, saving more birds from scrapyards.
Right.
And he had it tucked away. I don't know if it's on my phone. Tucked away in a corner.
Yeah.
And he plucked it out. Oh. Just happened to have a picture.
You know, we need a table.
Is that going?
It is, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
This is where we found, Tom found it over in a corner, buried behind all of this stuff, was part of a left wing fuselage.
Okay.
That was part of this one over here. Just the beam, you know, from right here, right up here, you know, back with no engine, with no tail, no nothing.
Okay.
That's how it started.
So it was just rotting away there essentially.
It was,
Yeah.
and then that's how it looked when we took it out of there. And then we got bits and pieces from, you know, this kind of stuff. Other scraps, you know, people had saved things from, this was from an Alaska scrap yard. We got this stuff.
Okay.
And
What are these components? I don't even know what they are.
this is fuselage. There's your stick, there's the instrument.
Oh, I got
You know, there's your rudder pedals down there.
Okay.
But it's just, these were people saving pieces.
Yeah.
You know, so that, who knows if somebody's going to, and then that's how it started, you know, it started coming together.
Okay. And
You know?
the engines were intact then when you got it?
No engines.
No engines. Okay. So
No,
you have to
see?
source those. You have to rebuild them probably.
That's the way it looks.
Oh, okay.
No engines.
Wait. So it was disassembled then?
It was just part of a, you know, when NACA took it back,
Yeah.
they had taken the engines, the propellers, they took all that stuff.
Right. But it looks like it's only half the plane now. It's
You
missing
know,
the
that's
wing
all-
and the.
it was only part. That's all. That's what we started with.
Oh, okay.
11 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh,
So you have to clone this almost.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You want that? Yeah, we had to. What we did was the longerons and ribs were all good in the left fuselage,
Okay.
so we had to duplicate it for the right one. And
Now it originally had Allisons in it, or is that what?
no,
what you just
Merlins.
decided? Oh, it did
This
have
is the
Merlins.
prototype.
Okay.
It was the first one that flew. The first 22 had Merlin engines.
Yeah.
And then they wanted a very large royalty, like $5,000 per engine. So North American said, nah, we'll use Allisons. All the production models had Allison.
Okay.
But this is a prototype. It had Merlin, so this had Merlins.
All right.
And
Now,
that's the left-hand turner, and this is the right-hand turner.
yeah. So refresh my memory then. The original kind of conceived idea was to make a long-range escort during the Pacific theater, right? Because we didn't
Right.
have a plane that can go, you know, we can go from England to Germany, but there's no way we can go from a carrier
No,
in the
they
Philippines
wanted-
to Japan.
Well, like Saipan or Tinian to Tokyo.
Yeah,
Too many P-51s were running out of fuel,
yeah,
you know, and going into the water, and we're losing too many planes and pilots. So Hap Arnold said, I need a twin-engine system.
right.
This is what North American came up with.
Okay.
They said this way you can put a pilot over here, he can relieve this guy, long range, lots more fuel.
Yeah.
You know, with this, as it came out of the factory, they're 600 gallons.
I just
But
got
you
here. I
could
went
put
down.
drop tanks on the wheels
Yeah.
and go a whole lot further.
So how long would these crew members be in the airport? Do you know, 10 hours or?
Back then,
Yeah.
well, it depends on how many drop tanks you're going and how fast you're going,
Yeah.
but it could escort a B-29 to Japan and back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where the 51 marginal at best, if it would make it back.
Yeah.
A lot of them went in the
So
water.
were they used in the World War II?
No.
No, not until
This was
Korea.
coming out, took its first flight in April of 45,
Yeah.
and then Enola Gay goes to Tokyo. Put this guy out of business. He had a short, you know, it was a short history. They did see a lot of service in Korea.
Okay.
But it, you know, it was meant to escort the B-29s, but the B-29 got there first
Yeah, yeah.
and took care of Tokyo, and that was it.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah. The
But
bomb.
it did. It shot down the first 3 kills, I guess you could say, in Korea.
Yeah. Okay. I was unaware up until now that they actually did serve in combat. I thought they were just
It did.
as
It did.
prototypes and.
And this particular one, prototype, was used by NACA for testing
Yeah.
with ramjets and
They knew it was there.
all kinds of different ammo setups. Like, it comes with 650 calibers, but there's another pod that would hold another 8. So you could have 14 50 calibers right there.
Oh my, that's a lot of
They had a
firepower.
lot of bombs and rockets on the wings. It was set up for a lot of different,
Yeah.
you know,
And
whatever
he was telling me they even experimented with putting jet engines or ramjets on here too. So,
They did. Yeah, there's pictures of that. Of it. Yeah, NACA used it quite a bit for testing because it was going to Korea.
It wasn't at the center.
And then somebody ran it off of an icy runway in Cleveland in December of '49.
You know, the engine out of
And
Mexico.
bent the center section, tore up the propellers, tore up, just really put it out of commission.
Well, here's another thing.
And that's when Walter Zapata came along and said, I'll take it.
Plane that someone
Yeah.
He says, I want to save that airplane. That's a prototype, the first one that flew. You know, I want to save it. And he took it to his property. And then they said, no, well, we want to bring it back because it's going to Korea. The NACA wanted it back. And they took most of it back.
51J. How many
That's why
were
we
built?
only started with a left fuselage. But it's got quite a history. It's probably,
The Mustang cannon
But-
doesn't fit a Mustang.
being the first one that flew and being Merlin powered.
This shit doesn't happen. But
Yeah.
it has happened.
Now, what happened with last year? You weren't able to make it because there wasn't enough flight training for the pilot?
Well, no, the pilot was fine.
Yeah.
Well, he hadn't had his type rating yet.
What?
But he needed his type rating. But
Okay.
what happened when it was getting closer and closer to Oshkosh,
Yeah.
we hadn't gotten our licensing from the FAA.
Oh, okay.
We were waiting on that, and it got tangled up in Washington. Who knows? It just, and then the guy came to our DAR came to license it on the Monday of Oshkosh. We still had 20 hours to fly off. It wasn't going to happen.
Okay.
So
But it's great to see
we,
her crank it.
we realized then it wasn't
And
going
they
to
were growing
happen.
pains,
And then with the
learning
issue
how to
with the
make it
wheel
behave, and now
up here on the Tiger Cat
Tom,
last
Yeah.
year.
get in it. They
I
know
filmed that
exactly
happen.
how long
Right
we're
in front
driving
of me,
up
actually.
to.
Well, that's when Tom said the airplane's grounded. I'm going to have new wheel space. That was a 4-month delay getting those wheels made.
Last
Really?
time I saw, I guess it's here on
We
top.
weren't going to take the chance on those old corrosion, because
No
our
way.
wheels had some corrosion, not a lot, but it did have some. But the chance, you're not going to take a chance with this
Yeah,
airplane.
especially that was a tricycle gear configuration on that plane. If one of these wheels went out on this plane, the prop would most likely hit the ground, and
Oh, there's no
you'd have
doubt.
to repair the engine. So
Oh, it would have been horrible.
Yeah.
So we said we're not going to take that chance. And a lot of things on this airplane are probably better than the original.
Yeah.
Because of magnesium, there are a lot of castings were magnesium and corroded. We did it out of 70, 75 aluminum. So
Okay.
it's much better.
Yeah, I'm interested in how the fuselage are connected. There's a big I-beam in there, or just ribs, or...
There's a huge spar runner over here.
Yeah.
Big ones. This sucker is
Well, if you're in, show me. 'cause
probably
I'm all in
about
it, can't find anything.
it's really big. It's about 20 feet long.
Yeah.
It goes from the outside of that one to the outside of this one and all through here.
But it's like any
And you said it's
any
70,
airplane
75
that's
aluminum?
complex, you're like this,
That's,
hold it together. Okay.
Yeah, that's a really
Little
tough
bit of
grade.
curve.
You can't
Yeah.
weld it, but...
But
No,
but it's
and that's
the same
what
with
all the launch
And I
ones. I'm
learned,
pretty sure.
You look down the line, and
Tom
the
knows
planes
a
are all
little more
pretty. We must be the only ones having
specifics.
issues. No, we're not. They're all.
Well, you were going
the
through
same.
the blueprints then
And
as
it's
you were
interesting being
reconstructing
from
it,
the
right?
boating
And
world because
trying to get
I
it as
brought
accurate as possible.
things to them
We
that
did
I
get all the
used, and I
drawings
took
from North
things
America, and that
they
was
did
a
and brought it back
big.
to the boating world.
It was hard
But it's
sometimes to
easier to
figure out
convince
how
me
they
to use
talked
some of
and what
theirs
they
than for me to
called
convince
things.
them.
Oh, really?
You would say like, well, I need to find this part, but that's not what they called it.
I'll tell you one thing that
And over the years, you started thinking like they did, you know, figure out how
ever
to.
invented by
They had everything were
Centric Pratt Whitney
assemblies
engineer
to
named Bob.
little bitty parts,
Near West
depending on
Palm
what you
Beach.
needed.
It's
Or
called
it would have the whole
And
fuselage, how to
you
do
end up
skins, or
using
how
it
each rib was in there. It was
cars, even PVC, when you don't want
wonderful
the threads
to have that.
It won't wash
Okay,
off.
well, thanks for talking to me. I
Never
appreciate it.
like when you put
Thanks for everything you've done, too. That's a lot of time, 11 years. So that's quite a
It's one of those few items you find
commitment,
in life.
dedication.
Everything that says it.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Blood, sweat, and tears. There you go.
Lots of them.
How can I support the aircraft? Do you guys sell any t-shirts or anything like that?
Well, I have a few,
Yeah.
but you know, we weren't set up to sell T-shirts. You know, I just have a
Okay.
few.
Maybe next year then.
Yeah, I could get you one.
Yeah, 1,840 horsepower. And the left turner here, there's only 40 of this engine ever made. 3 exist. They found this one.
Okay, this one turns left and that one turns right.
Yeah, inboard turner.
No space.
3 engines that exist, we thought 2 existed. They found this one in its original packing crate in a garage in Mexico City. Wow. A never been used engine out of only 40 made. And that's one of 100 crazy win the lottery type coincidences that happened to this airplane. And it would that no one amount would be accurate. It depends on how you look at it. Yeah. But it's been a labor of love and frustration and euphoria when she first flew. And
Bet you guys cracked open a cold one after that one.
yeah, some of us did, except for Tom, our leader, who doesn't drink. There were a few nights of frustration along the way. We cracked a cold one too. But she is marvelous, and she flies gently. I mean, she's fast, and you have to land fast or the bottom will fall out. But as long as you know that, she's a very gentle flying airplane, very easy to fly. She's, but no, we had no idea what we'd have, and it took off. But the guy that was the last type pilot, who typed our pilot, said they have no bad flying characteristics, and he was absolutely correct. Literally stalls like a Cessna 172, very gentle. It tracks well. It comes off very well. Even though it's heavy on the ailerons, because the prototype had no boost on the controls. And you know that, and Ray said, try it. And I did, and I said, my God. Noise! Anyway, she's a delightful airplane.
Did you guys have a hard time finding
Yeah, there's only 40 of them ever made. B-29 is cruising about 300. Now you can do that with a Mustang, but she burns a whole hell of a lot of fuel. And the problem they had was 2 things. Incredible long flights, one pilot, fatigue. 2, you had to push the throttles of the Mustang way up, fuel consumption. And we lost pilots and airplanes, both in the Pacific, that never recovered. So our Air Force said, I need an airplane with 2 pilots, 30 miles an hour faster than actually got fixed. And more range. And this is what Steve came up with. It flew maybe a month before VE Day, still, and then of course it never made it into the war because of the bombs. They did use them in Korea, and the first 3 enemy aircraft shot down by Americans were shot down, and then F-82, the designation changed in 1947 from D from C to F, so for fighters. And anyway, the book says she was the second one to fly, but you can find no photographs of F-82. This is how's your son doing? And the reason we know.
Yeah.
Mr. Harry's.
And then we'll get the chairs and bring them back, okay? All right. Wish us luck, kids.
Uneconomical to repair. So he bought it, took it apart, took it to his junkyard. Everybody calls it a junkyard.
Salvage yard.
But it was a historic yard.
Yeah.
It became a historic yard.
Yeah.
It went from a junkyard to a historic yard.
What other kind of things did he have in that place?
All he had,
He had some
well, he had
pieces
2
of a
of these. He
B-36
had
in
an
there.
F model one of these. He has a Corsair frame. He had some T-28s. He had an A4D Skyraider. He's had F-86s and a B-36, B-25.
There was a cutlass in there. If I remember some of those pictures.
I can't name everything.
Whatever he could get his
if
hands
he
on
could-
for
if-
nothing, he got.
He got, and he would drag that stuff home, and he'd take all his kids and load them up and drag them to the airport. They'd take the airplane apart, drag it home, put it back together, or pile it up.
And now it's pretty much gone, the place.
Most of the airplanes, Mr. Splata did not want to sell anything that he had, and he was very picky about letting anybody buy his airplanes. And we were fortunate enough that he contacted Mr. Riley, and they allowed him to come buy this airplane, and he advised him on other airplanes to sell. The family has sold. Mr. Splata has thus passed away. He and his wife passed away, so they are trying to work with him and try
See,
to
I didn't
sell.
ever hear the story about it. I heard, but the one of the guy that's down in Texas that was on AOPA. Of course, yeah, you heard all about
he
him,
was
that
a
grumpy old
character and a
man.
half.
Yeah, that's still amazing. That's a similar situation.
Have the
The
color.
No,
old
this
guy
just-
wanted something, he went
look
and
at
got it.
Oh, just to show it, okay.
It's 5 feet longer. All right, go stand right here. Stand right there. Walk over. Walk over. Yeah, let me see you do that under a Mustang. You won't do it.
Yeah, it sits higher and all that.
You won't do it.
I was at a Piper dealership, Chuck Doyle in Minnesota. He had a
That's amazing.
This is much bigger than a if you put them side by side. Of course, now when you talk about getting it out here amongst these big airplanes here, it doesn't look too big, but it's much bigger than a Mustang.
So it's got 650
That
cals.
was me. One of them.
Feed 'em.
I just want one.
One big basket. One big basket.
Up to you guys, you were talking.
It was found in Mexico City in a can, brand new, never run.
That's 650 cals in the wing gun.
Go to the back of the airplane.
I saw them exposed. Yeah. I'll walk under the tail.
This thing out of the box. That's amazing. I was looking at it, that's how I knew that. That looked like it landed in like in a floodplain or flood zone or a tidal zone, and then it came out.
That was my limiting factor, how long I stay up there. I'm just taking it.
I think he's flying in the air show tomorrow night. The Warbird show is tomorrow night. I think he's
Parts from Wally's. Wally's airplane has the ones 16 feet. Well, that's right.
front of us, you can see the twin Mustang, which is the only twin Mustang on Earth that's flying. The only one, and it's here. There are some in the museum, but let's see this one fly. seen some Vietnam aircraft. The Twin Mustang here was 50s technology. They never really went into production.